Hello, everyone. Today we will break down the latest update of DC Dark Legion, an update that brings many controversial changes to both the resource management system and the strategic gameplay. Instead of just small tweaks, the developer directly affected the Intel points system and important modes such as Guardian Challenge and Great Krypton Rush, forcing players to completely change their daily routines. Some changes help players save time, but there are also adjustments that make resource calculation much stricter and far more complex than before. The removal of the limit on coordinated attacks or the change to city garrison rules will definitely create mixed opinions in the community because benefits and risks now always go hand in hand. In this video, I will not only list the features, but also objectively analyze both the pros and cons of this update so you can have the most realistic view. We will take a closer look at whether these adjustments are truly a step forward to balance the game or simply create more pressure for players, starting right away with the changes to Dark Legion and the new Intel point system. We will start with the biggest change in the Dark Legion system, which is that the developer has adjusted the unlock speed and enemy difficulty, making each level now spawn only one enemy. This change helps reduce the clutter in single battles, but the downside is that it reduces the diversity of challenges that players used to face. Honestly, I say it like it sounds important, but I personally do not really understand what this part is supposed to highlight because from my experience playing Dark Legion, I never saw many enemies anyway. If anyone understands the meaning of only one enemy remains, please explain it to me. What is more notable and currently controversial is that the daily limit on initiating coordinated attacks has been completely removed, allowing unlimited participation. But in return, each initiation now costs up to 40 intel points. Even though the developer has a refund mechanism if the attack fails, 40 points is still a very expensive cost if you do not know how to manage your resources. One positive point is that the rewards from these activities have been significantly improved in terms of experience, chips, and other resources, making the grind feel more worthwhile. In addition, the rule that allows you to join other players' attacks without spending intel points is still kept, and this is probably the only lifeline for players who prefer a saving playstyle so they can still earn rewards without draining their resources. To take advantage of this, you should join a league with many active members online because it allows you to stay online all day just to support teammates, earn league coins, and buy rewards in the league shop more easily and more comfortably. As for the 40 intel points cost, when compared to anti-crime, it is roughly equivalent in rewards or even better because the rewards are evenly split across all four materials. However, for players who have already reached the final level of anti-crime, the Dark Legion rewards are slightly lower, around more than 20,000 chips, 20,000 alloy, 20,000 simular, and 100,000 experience if you focus on only one resource. That said, comparing it this way is a bit unfair because anti-crime also has a chance to double the rewards. Going deeper into the Intel points system, this update creates new pressure because completing crisis missions now costs points, specifically 5 points for personal missions and 2 points when supporting alliance members. This forces players to think more carefully before helping teammates instead of doing it freely like before, even though the points are still refunded if the mission is canceled. To compensate for this shortage, the game has added 80 intel points to the highest activity chest when you reach 100 activity points per day. Overall, this new intel system brings flexibility for players who want to progress faster by spending more resources, but at the same time, it introduces a much harsher economic problem, requiring players to be extremely consistent every day if they do not want to run out of energy to perform basic tasks. The Intel points usage priority that I can recommend is to support teammates in Dark Legion first because it does not cost Intel points, then use them in Crisis, then go back to create Dark Legion battles so teammates can join and support, and finally use them for anti-crime if you still have points left. However, I honestly think most of you will not have any spare points anyway. Moving on to the Guardian Challenge, This is probably the part that alliances need to pay special attention to, because the changes to victory conditions and city garrison rules will completely overturn traditional defensive strategies. First, the fact that the battle now ends immediately when an alliance reaches the required score helps speed up the match pace and avoids long, exhausting battles. But at the same time, it turns the mode into an extremely intense sprint. Members with battle honor points above 0 will receive the highest tier of personal rewards as soon as the alliance wins, which encourages everyone to actively contribute instead of just participating for presence. However, the most concerning change lies in the city garrison rule, where each defeated garrison army will directly reduce the maximum number of players who can participate in defending that location. This mechanism creates a very dangerous collapse effect. The more battles you lose, the weaker the city's defense becomes because the number of players who can reinforce is increasingly restricted, and this limit is only restored when the city changes control. This forces alliances to prioritize the quality of garrison lineups instead of compensating quality with quantity like before, because even a few small losses can lead to a complete inability to hold the city. In addition, the removal of towns from 1-star and 2-star cities allows players to directly contest cities from the start, removing intermediate steps and pushing straight into direct confrontations. Overall, the Guardian Challenge is no longer a test of endurance, but a test of explosive power and extremely strict force preservation. Continuing with alliance strategy changes, we move to the Great Krypton Rush mode, where personal calculation and quick adaptation become vital factors. The biggest change here is that players now spawn at a completely random position on the battlefield, instead of gathering at a fixed alliance base like before. This breaks the previous sense of safety and forces you to manage on your own from the very first seconds, even though you can still use teleport skills to adjust your position within the allowed area after the cooldown ends. Another important technical detail is that your squads will now depart directly from this new spawn point. Specifically, when you want to join a coordinated attack with teammates, your army must go through an extra step of moving to the initiator's location before starting the joint march. This mechanism unintentionally extends the rally time, creating vulnerable gaps that enemies can exploit to intercept, requiring smoother coordination and tighter communication among members. Alongside the map changes, the Scarab system also receives a small but quite useful improvement in terms of information display. Now, instead of guessing or calculating manually, you can simply tap on chord chips to directly view the power bonus stats they provide. This transparency makes it easier for players to optimize their lineups and avoid wasting resources on chip pieces that do not match their playstyle. However, objectively speaking, this is mainly a user interface improvement to make the system easier to use, rather than a true breakthrough in power or new combat mechanics for the Scarab system. Overall, the combination of randomness in movement and clarity in equipment shows that the developer wants players to focus more on management skills and situational reactions instead of relying solely on old, repetitive strategic patterns. Finally, we will take a look at a series of quality of life improvements to see whether the daily experience for players has truly become more comfortable. The most notable change for those who regularly collect resources is the addition of the option to withdraw 50 times at once in the bleed, a small change that significantly saves operation time. In addition, the raid feature for anti-crime levels now has a clear unlock condition when the war room reaches level 12, creating a clear milestone for players to work toward. The system automatically keeping equipment such as vehicles and cord chips when entering maps is also a positive point, as it reduces repetitive setup steps that can become tedious. Furthermore, visual upgrades to the minimap in Battles at Gotham and the rearrangement of the SON screen interface show that the developer is trying to refine the visual presentation so players can grasp the battlefield more easily. In conclusion, this DC Dark Legion update is a double-edged sword, as it offers more freedom in grinding while simultaneously tightening the management of intel resources. The changes in Guardian Challenge and Great Krypton Rush will definitely force alliances to carefully rethink their lineups and movement strategies if they want to avoid bitter defeats. It is clear that the game is moving toward a faster and more intense pace, demanding continuous interaction from players. Hopefully, the analysis above has given you the most comprehensive and objective overview to prepare for upcoming battles. If you find this video useful, do not forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment about which change makes you feel the most satisfied or the most worried in this update. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and see you again in the next strategy review videos.